Welcome back to the channel and to part 2 of our weekend road trip exploring the southern end of the Blue Ridge Parkway. If you missed part 1, be sure to check that out, but as a reminder, we filmed this trip just a few weeks prior to Hurricane Helene devastating many of the areas through which we'll be driving on screen. This area and its businesses are still trying to recover, and those that have reopened could certainly use your patronage. Both the Pisgah End and Little Switzerland, our destination this time, are open for the 2025 season, although you may need to take a different route to get there than what we'll show. Hopefully our experience will encourage some of you to take a drive and visit the area for a weekend or more. Now on to the road trip. After a thunderstorm serenade overnight at Pisgah Inn, we awoke to weather that suggested fall was busily trying to supplant the summer season, with a chilly wind whipping and swirling clouds up the side of the ridge on which the inn sits. We picked up a few things for the road from their Grazing Deer Cafe, a grab-and-go section of the gift shop, and then checked out and drove off into the fog. Resuming our path northeast on the Blue Ridge Parkway, the distant views hidden by ground-level cloud cover, we wound our way again through the near-century-old tunnels and what looked like a murky, almost spooky setting from a 1980s fantasy film. This stretch of the parkway passes just south of the Biltmore Estate grounds before turning north on the east side of Asheville. We couldn't see any of that, immersed instead in what one might call pea soup. Fortunately, once past Asheville, the weather let up a bit for us, and we did catch one glimpse of a view at an overlook before we climbed back into the clouds for lunch and a short side quest to do whatever the mountaineering version of glamping is called. Mount Mitchell may be the tallest mountain in the eastern U.S., but in season you can drive all but the last half mile or so to the summit. As you approach the top, you have the option to park up and partake at the mountain's cafe and eatery. The sign outside the door says fine food, beautiful view, and we can confirm at least half of that as our lunch was simple but tasty. This mountaintop cafe has a basic menu but covers most typical preferences. The seating area is cozy and I'm sure would normally offer spectacular views. The scenes outside on our visit were dramatic but not expansive, with a howling wind whipping through the spruce trees. Meanwhile, comfortable inside, we munched on some thick-cut chips and a fresh burger. With those calories on board, we decided to offset that intake a bit and take a hike to the summit, to at least be able to say we did, even with no expectation of much to see beyond about 100 feet in front of us. Parking at the trailhead, a paved path took us the rest of the way on foot to an observation platform designed to allow 360 degrees of views. For us, it was more juvenile giggling at some of the peak's names, a selfie or two, and then we headed back down to snag a pen from the gift shop, get back to the warmer confines of our car, and continue on our way. Winding back down from 6,600 feet to slightly lower elevations, we settled back in for the last outbound leg of our drive that would take us to where we'd spend the next couple of days to round out the weekend. The weather had cleared up a bit by the time we rounded the last few bends and exited the Blue Ridge Parkway nearly into the parking lot of the Switzerland Inn. Less an inn in the traditional sense and more of a chalet minus the ski slopes, the Switzerland Inn sits atop the community of Little Switzerland, where a lodge of some type has existed since 1910. The current interpretation dates back to around the 1950s and has been run by one family or another since that time. Arriving mid-afternoon, we parked up and headed to check in. I could see some people having trepidation at the main lodge's fairly sparse street-facing facade, but walking into the rustic-themed but clearly modernized lobby and lounge gives a better read on the quality of the property. To be clear, Liz and I are generally pretty frugal, other than the car hobby, of course. So in our normal travels, a clean room at a good price is really all we ask, but given this was more of an occasion, we'd hoped for a few extra frills. Fortunately, the Switzerland Inn did not disappoint. We'll get to the views out back in a moment, but having checked in, we dropped our bags in our room and took stock. We'd decided not to splurge on a mountain view as our goal wasn't to spend much time indoors until after dark, but even on the low end, our room was very comfortably appointed with modern fixtures in the same rustic styles as elsewhere. The small balcony is actually functional and the decor let us know we were in the woods without making it feel like we were in the sticks. That is to say, it has clearly been kept up to date, it's clean, and everything worked. Even the Wi-Fi was decent if we only used it briefly by design. Having dropped our bags, we took a stroll around the rest of the grounds, starting with a stop for some coffee and ice cream at the Provisions House. Wandering into some of the souvenir shops while we sipped, we then walked to the back of the property where we definitely had a moment of feeling like we'd stumbled into some low corner of the Alps. A covered patio looks out onto a manicured lawn with a few different seating areas oriented towards a legitimately breathtaking view. Looking back up the hill at the lodge, aesthetically, it's really only a flower box or two shy from some of the places we've stayed in actual Bavaria. Granted, we haven't been to Switzerland yet, so southern Germany has to suffice for our authenticity gauge for now. After soaking in the view, we repaired to the Foul Play pub for a snackish dinner, leaning into the theme a bit with a giant pretzel as an appetizer and some tasty sliders before taking our drinks back out to sit by the fire and take us into the evening. The following morning, we decided to do a little more on-road adventuring, given the weather was again foiling any thoughts of hiking. North Carolina Highway 226A and 226 make a fairly serpentine loop that starts and ends next door to Switzerland Inn. It's been dubbed the Diamondback by locals and has gotten something of a dragon-esque marketing treatment with decals, posters, pens, and shirts on sale in the area's shops. I won't do a full road review here as we more or less tiptoed our way around with limited visibility tempering enthusiasm, but my quick thoughts are that it could be a fun bonus if you're already in the area on a bike or with a sports car. It's no doubt a challenging loop, although my notes would include that the surface wasn't great, there were some gravel washes, and there are a number of driveways, entrances, and intersections that you'd want to be aware of. Still, if you're into slaying dragons or carving canyons, then you might be inclined to ride the Diamondback while you're here. Completing our own circuit of the snaky road, we stopped for some lunch in the form of some great barbecue at the Switzerland Cafe before wandering through Switzerland Book and Beans next door. That's coffee beans, as you can buy a cup of joe as you walk in, and then browse your way through this seeming TARDIS of a bookstore. It just keeps going. You think you've been in every room, and then there's another room, and another room, and then there's a staircase and a basement. We picked up a volume or two by local authors to read or gift before making our way back up to the inn after that adventure. We'd happily noticed as we'd been eating lunch and book browsing that it had gotten a bit lighter outside, with the morning fog having burned off to reveal some largely blue skies for the first time on the weekend. We took the opportunity to take a short hike around some of the surrounding neighborhood, and then set up shop in a couple of chairs on the lawn to sip a drink and take in the layers of foothills stretching off into the distance. Our dinner on the last proper day of our getaway saw us back indoors but still with a view. There are levels to what people call fine dining, and the Chalet restaurant at the Switzerland Inn is, I think, solidly in the upper half of what we've found in that regard. It's an experience without being pretentious. You'll want to move early on reservations in season, but the food and ambiance are worth it. As a bonus, it's not, if you have to ask, expensive. We followed our leisurely dinner with a drink on the open patio as the sun set, capping off a few great days touring the eastern slopes of the Smokies and a very pleasant stay at the Switzerland Inn. We hope you enjoyed this two-part road trip series, and we also hope it might inspire you to take a drive and help in some small way the regional recovery from Hurricane Helene. Again, bear in mind that some of the roads we drove on screen may not be open as of this publishing. Mount Mitchell, for instance, is currently inaccessible, and while both Pisgah Inn and Switzerland Inn are open, some sections of the Blue Ridge Parkway leading to them are not, so you may be routed along regular roads to get there for the time being. With that said, if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing, and if you're a local or have been to some of these places yourselves, please leave comments with any road updates or other things to see in the area that we missed. Beyond that, we thank you for watching. I'm Richard, this is Lap of the World, and we'll see you in the next video, if not back on the track.